We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Boom! Headshot!
Hey, it's Clay. How's everybody doing? I got another Counter-Strike Go commentary for you, and playing some gun game actually on, I believe this is Nuke, a classic map, and gun game is pretty sweet. I really like that they brought it back as more of a standard game mode, and true to the Counter-Strike form, Counter-Strike itself was a mod, so it seems only fitting that they would include mods in the full release. I think they've done that with zombies, and there's just a whole bunch of other mods out there, and I just think that's one of the really cool parts about Counter-Strike, is that they embrace their history, and it's just so easy to mod, so easy for people to create sweet mods. But what I really wanted to talk about today was kind of the Counter-Strike Go and its ability to be relevant in the competitive scene moving into the future, and possibly implementing some sort of ranked system. Now, this is not like any sort of like news leak or anything that I know will happen. This is just a thought that I've had. I watched an interview, I think it was an ESEA interview with a guy from Sweden, and he talked about how Counter-Strike Go would be well served to start with some sort of like community playlist or ranking system where people actually were ranked based on, the number of wins or number of kills or whatever, however you want to do it. But he talked about how a lot of the games right now that have really good competitive scenes, including StarCraft, League of Legends, they have, even Halo in its history, they had or have ranking systems, kind of a way to prove yourself in the community, a way to kind of test your mettle, in like an objective test to see how you stack up against everybody else who plays this game in the world. And what if Counter-Strike Go implemented that? And personally, I got really excited by that idea. I think that would be really fun. I played some Battlefield 3 quite a bit since its release, and one of the sweet things I like about that game is that it has BF3 stats. It's one of the websites where it keeps track of like almost global leaderboards for who's got the most, AK kills, who's got the most M16 kills, etc., etc. And it keeps track of these stats to kind of rank people, in the world, and it does almost everything, score per minute, kills per minute, any stat you could think of that is recorded is on that website. And I was thinking to myself how stats serve an important purpose in a game, kind of having this ranking system, this leaderboard to show that you're a good player. Because every good NFL team has to go through the playoffs. Every good Counter-Strike player, I think it would be sweet is if you could have some sort of rank system. And obviously it wouldn't be perfect. I know in StarCraft, to some extent, getting to the really high levels, obviously you have to be skillful, but to some extent it becomes just a matter of playing enough games to kind of get yourself into a position where you can be successful there. I got to Diamond in StarCraft 2, and it kind of got to the point where I wasn't able to put enough time in to learn the game. It wasn't necessarily that I had capped out my personal skill level, but it was more of just a matter of I wasn't able to put in the time of day to really get good at the game. So it's not a perfect system, but I do think that it is really cool. And like I was saying with Battlefield, statistics can do a really cool job of extending a game's reach, of kind of fueling the competitive fire, however you want to call it. But I think it does a really great job of helping people to kind of create buzz, to kind of wager themselves in against the others in the world, to test their mettle, if you will. So I just think that would be such a sweet idea. I would love to see it kind of work out. And I think that for Counter-Strike, I would love to see it just based purely off of win-loss. FPS ranking systems can be a little bit complex because you have points, you've got objectives, and you've got KD, and all those things kind of factor in. But more than anything else, I think win-loss is or should be the determining factor. So to see, and I think also that would do a good job of remedying kind of the complaint that a lot of people have that Counter-Strike has a really high learning curve, that it's difficult to get into if you're a new player. And that's definitely true. But if it had a ranking system and it matched new players up against other new players, I think that would do a really good job of kind of helping people to get up to speed in the game and to go against other players of their own skill level and to give them a objective and a standard and to say, hey, I want to get to this skill level. How do I do that? And it could help other players to identify, well, I know in StarCraft 2, players in, bronze, silver, and maybe even gold, generally they need to work on their macro more than anything else. And that's a technical StarCraft thing. But you can group certain players together. Lower level players probably need to work on their aim, on their map positioning, just some of the basics. And then once you get up to talking about higher level players, you can say, all right, we need to start talking about strategy. We need to talk about, game awareness, situational awareness, all these types of the gun buying, all of these types of things. I think that would be really cool. I'd love to see it. And, there's nothing wrong with Counter-Strike's traditional model with the dedicated servers and, servers have a certain rule base and you kind of know what you're getting into. I like that. I always do like that. But I will say that I have gotten more enjoyment thus far out of the playlists that CSGO implemented, because those weren't in CSS. And I think those playlists have brought a lot of fun for me, just to kind of get matched up with newer players, kind of thrown into more of a hodgepodge type of an environment, I think has been really sweet. So I personally think that would be a really cool thing to put into the game, and I don't know if it would necessarily be super difficult for them to do. I mean, there are already statistics and leaderboards. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at them, so I don't necessarily know exactly what all the statistics that they offer. But I do think that it would be very doable for Valve to try to implement something like this. Because it's all about crunching numbers. It's all about coming up with an effective algorithm to kind of test people out. And they probably have to limit it to, a very specific. It'd probably have to be just 5v5 in like the competitive mode, or something like that, just to try to make it as objective as you possibly can make it. And also, a lot of it depends on having enough players, because I know that if you add more playlists, you need more players, and you don't necessarily want to have so many playlists to the point where the playlists get diluted, because then you end up getting matched up, with bad pings, and you end up, not necessarily being in good close matches. You need to have a pretty big fan base to make something like this happen. But all that said, I feel confident that Valve could do it, and that it would be a good thing for the game. I really do think that this would be a really good idea. And we can see here on this gun game, I am really struggling to get this knife kill. These guys are stuck in a spawn trap, but overall, I do feel like adding some sort of like a competitive ranking system for other players to test their measure against equally skilled players, I think that would be really cool. I think that it brings a really fun and interesting mechanic to the game where, you kind of test yourself objectively. It's not so much, and I know that CS already has kind of like a pro scene, and there are teams and they scrim and all that jazz. But to bring it more mainstream, to bring it into something where everybody kind of knows about it and everybody understands that level, I think that the best way to do that would be to bring in some sort of a competitive playlist. Because I think it's difficult for people to get into the pro scene, to get into those teams, but it's a lot easier for them to get an understanding of it when you have a playlist like that. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, and I'll see you soon.